Welcome back to Core Conversations, a CoreLogic podcast. I am your host, Maiclaire Bolton Smith, and I'm the Senior Leader of Research and Content Strategy with CoreLogic. In this podcast, we'll have conversations with industry experts about key topics from housing affordability to the impacts of natural disasters on property. Buying a home is an exciting yet stressful time. A home purchase is likely the biggest financial investment someone will make in their lives. And in today's day and age, we're so accustomed to everything being a seamless digital experience. Yet the home buying experience can be such a process. Whether it's going back and forth on emails and texts, sharing listings and waiting for feedback, or going through endless tasks of figuring out which home is the dream home and how much that dream home costs. The process can be long and cumbersome. CoreLogic recently conducted a study in 2021 surveying Americans who were looking to purchase a home. Nearly 80% agreed that the home buying process was very stressful, and 58% noted that the pandemic has made the home buying process much more difficult. I'm sure many have even shed a few tears during the process. I would be one of those people. So a few years ago, when my husband and I bought our first home, I remember wishing I could just find a home and buy it on Amazon. Well, what seemed like a pipe dream just a few years ago is actually coming to life with OneHome from CoreLogic, a virtual collaboration portal that enables agents and home buyers to connect like never before. So for our episode today, I'm joined by Matt Fagioli, owner and founder of BKG Brokerage Atlanta, and a broker advisor to CoreLogic. Matt, welcome to Core Conversations.
Thanks very much. I really appreciate it.
All right. So to get us started today, can you tell our listeners a little bit about your background?
Sure. So I've been a real estate broker for almost 20 years. Before that was in the technology space for another almost 20 years. So I'm dating myself. But got into the real estate industry and took a very tech forward, marketing forward approach to the business, and have carried that on through the last 20 years.
Wow.
Selling real estate in Atlanta, done a bunch of consulting on the national stage for tech and marketing companies in the real estate space, and been working with CoreLogic for a long time as well.
Wow. So great. Well, we're happy to have you here. So, in a previous episode, we talked about how the relationship between the home buyer and the real estate agent is so valuable. But why is communication so important in the home buying and selling process?
Interestingly, it's always been the most important thing: how you communicate, how often, what you relay when you're speaking to a client, and always reaching out at those golden moments, and having that sometimes fierce conversations, but making sure that you're right on time with your communications has always been
Sure.
critically important. But in the last couple of years, you alluded to this in your opening. There's so much happening in terms of the way the transaction is changing. People want that seamless Amazon experience, and the communication has become even more critical all the time. And we can't quite deliver that Amazon experience in real estate yet, but there's all kinds of examples of that happening, or we're starting to approach it more and more. And so having the right tools in your tool belt so that you're creating the most seamless communication possible, and sort of streamlining the process of buying or selling a home for a client. It's interesting from our perspective as realtors, especially those of us that have been in the business for 10, 20, 30 years. We know how difficult it's always been. And so we expect the buyer or seller to enter the engagement with them having some understanding of, oh, this is just going to be hard. That's what real estate is, just hard.
Right.
But that isn't really true, especially the younger buyer and seller, first time home buyer, second home, whatever. But I have children in their 20s, and now they're all homeowners because dad's a real estate broker, but they're all like, why is this so freaking hard? Like, why can't I just push a button? So their expectation is that experience.
Yeah, definitely. And with that, then I want to just kind of dive into OneHome. So we talked a little bit about this in the intro off the top, but for listeners who may not be familiar with it, it really is just a modern search experience. It puts the agent, the home buyer, the home seller all on the same page. It's like it's a planner and a whiteboard and a dating app for homes. So it really is just your trusted partner and can instill confidence as the home buyer really can understand clearly where they are in the process. So Matt, I know you're familiar with OneHome. What is it about OneHome, especially in this more digitized world that we're in right now, that allows you to build your business and connect with your clients like never before?
Sure. Well, it's been true for all the years I've been in real estate that we've always had tools in all those 20 years uh, from CoreLogic and others that allow us to set up, we call them saved searches. So client says, hey, I'm interested in buying a home in the 300s in this zip code. And so if you're doing your job right, you're setting up a search for that person in the MLS so that every time a new listing comes on the market that meets their criteria, they're going to get notifications
Hmm.
about that.
Yeah.
So that's been true always, but it's been less true that there's been a great portal experience for us to talk with the clients about those listings and to stay at the front of the conversation and stay at the center of their search process. I had a new buyer email me for the first time today. It's a referral from another market. So thanks to my friends in Miami. But they sent me an email. They said, hey, we're coming up this weekend. We're interested in seeing homes. Here's some homes we want to see. All those links were from Zillow.
Wow.
So
Yep.
at the start of that interaction, right, that's the starting point of the conversation is they're, sending me links with Zillow. And so I got to pull that conversation back to my world. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up search environments. We're going to send them back all these same listings and more in our world. We're going to engage them in that platform so that they're talking to us in our world and their eyes are focused here. And so what OneHome does is gives us, there's been other tools like that, but this is the most powerful tool to date that
Wow.
allows us to try to lasso that conversation back.
So, Matt, now that you're using this exciting new technology, what are the one home features that you see your clients using the most?
Well, I think the biggest deal is for the client to be able to send us feedback on which listings they like and which ones they don't.
Mm-hmm.
A place where we have a little better control over that information and it's all in one place, of course. And we also are getting insights into their search activity, so we can figure out,
Wow.
you don't have to be in real estate long before you hear the phrase "buyers are liars." And so what happens is they said they wanted this, what they're looking at is that. And so, being able
Wow.
to connect those dots and have that insight is a big, big deal.
That's really interesting because it can really help you learn more about your client and what they really want. And it's interesting because I really wonder if you say buyers are liars. Like, I wonder if they even know what they want when they initially tell you. And through the search process, they start to realize they actually do and maybe can afford something that's even a little different.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There's no malicious intent here. They don't really. We're not saying they're really lying. It's just
Yeah.
that things change down through the process. You think you want X, and it turns out you actually wanted Y.
Yeah.
You think you wanted this price point, and it turns out usually it either stays the same or goes up. Usually, it doesn't go down. But somebody can start out saying, "Hey, we're interested in threes," and go, "You know what? We're not finding what we want in the threes. We're in the fours, and maybe we're in the fives." When we really get down to the house we actually want is going to cost us five. We thought maybe we could get it for 350, but we can't. And so,
Right.
what OneHome allows you to do is you're seeing their search activity and it tees up the question. Hey, I understand now. I can see that you seem to be interested more in these houses that are in the fives. Do we need to change the pre-qualification? Do we need to make sure that we're qualifying with lenders and then making offers on houses and looking at houses that are in the fives in order to meet your goals? And so the platform gives you that insight that's really powerful.
Yeah, that is really powerful. I'm thinking about it from, the agent's perspective using this because I've only really thought about this before from the home buyer's perspective where absolutely the house we bought is not the house we set out to buy when we thought we started looking. So I can see how that's a common feature that many people do change their minds once they realize what they can get and what they do need. So that's really interesting.
One of the things that is also really common is people say, I want to move to Atlanta. So this buyer that I mentioned earlier
Mm.
that we just met today in email is moving to Atlanta from Miami. Do they want to live in Atlanta? No. Do they want to? They
Yeah,
think they might want to live in Marietta, but there's 10 other places that they're going to discover that they might want to live. So that's one
right.
of the other things that really moves. No one, everyone says we've recently started doing business in Tampa. So everyone says, I want to move to Tampa. Do they want to live in Tampa? No, they want to live in the suburbs north of Tampa. That kind of
Right.
conversation. So,
Right.
anyway.
Well, very, very telling and very informative to be able to learn more about buyers' search habits to help them really find that dream home. So, okay, one other feature that, we're pretty excited about with One Home is it allows you to browse and compare your options for things like lenders and mortgage providers and insurance and even service providers if you were looking to remodel or repair your home. And this is called Marketplace. So, how is OneHomes Marketplace going to be a game changer for you and your clients?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. I think that the trick with all of these affiliated services is to position them with your client as extensions of your fiduciary relationship. So we're explaining to the client that we are there to help them with every aspect of the transaction. We want to make sure, back to making it as seamless as possible, that they've got a great homeowners insurance solution set up and they've got the right
Mhm.
lenders through the process, and that we have their best interest in mind all the way through. And of course, Marketplace now can be customized for your specific relationships, and you've got the real opportunity to introduce all of those things. And really, I think all the best agents and brokers in the industry know that they should be bringing all of those pieces to bear, but
Mm.
One Home makes it a little bit easier, a little bit more seamless to introduce all of those other pieces. So I'm really excited about where that particular piece of the platform is now.
Sure, yeah, just a way of pulling it all together. Because even though, we all know that we need all those different things and we may not have access to all of them. So finding a way to bring it in one seamless experience really, really is helpful as this moves forward.
And just teeing it up without having to introduce yet another platform, teeing it
Sure.
up and saying, here's all these other things that you really need, and they're just right there for you. So, um, you know, one of the many coolnesses of One Home.
Wow. Well, love to hear that. So, okay, so I just want to wrap things up and let's look to the future. And the spring and summer home buying season is typically the busiest of the year. So, as we head into this busy season, if you can look into your crystal ball, what what are the things that buyers and sellers should be mindful of and how can they make the most of it?
Wow, that's a big one. Well, certainly, most people that are listening to this that are agents and brokers won't be shocked when I talk about limited inventory. We're at just an incredibly unique moment in
Right.
history,
Yeah.
lowest possible inventory there's ever been. And so, we talked about how critical communication is. And Part of that communication is engaging constantly with our buyers, particularly about the inventory situation. The OneHome helps us to make sure that they're seeing any brand new inventory as soon as it's possibly available, and being, super prepared to make those instant offers. It's so incredibly common that we have a buyer that we're working with who would love to buy this property, and it's under contract so fast that we never even got to present an offer.
Wow.
And so, that's another great thing about OneHome is if we've done our work, let's say we're working with a buyer for a few weeks, we've done the work of engaging them in the platform and getting it set with them so that they're seeing those listings happen every day when they come up, and we can act as quickly as possible to take action on that listing when it comes up. And so that's probably the biggest thing. And again, I don't think it's going to be coming as any kind of epiphany to agents and brokers listening to this, but that's the power of OneHome. Is it just takes you one step closer, gets you one step faster. You kind of could think of it as a literal foot race. If you're 100-yard dash and you're one step faster, you might just win that deal. And so, OneHome helps you do that.
Wow, it really is the competitive advantage in the hottest of hot markets that we're seeing right now. So,
Absolutely.
well, that's so great, Matt. So, any last minute thoughts or parting comments for us today?
Sure. Well, I think the best thing that I could share, I think, about where we are in the current market and the way to maximize your success and what we're focused on is continuing to build deep relationships, one human at a time, which sounds sort of old school and cliche, but all of this conversation about platforms and eyeballs and uh, at the end of the day, if the client wants to work with you and feels in relationship with you, and what do they say that no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care, and that's
Yeah.
really here. I think agents a lot of times have a tendency to put themselves forward as, hey, I know, and you should work with me. But what the client really is, the reality is that it's like, hey, how much do you love me? Now I want to work with you, and now I want to come back and bring
Sure.
I found these listings over here, but I'm going to bring them back to you. So we can do everything in the world technology wise, right? And if we don't win in the relationship side, then we don't win.
Yeah. So important because home buyers have options. And if they don't connect with their agent, there's plenty of other ones out there that would love their business, I'm sure. So I think that is a really important point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, just working at CoreLogic for a number of years, one of my favorite things is just knowing that at CoreLogic, we're kind of like a ninja behind the scenes, and 70% of the homes sold each year really pull on CoreLogic solutions. And this is just exciting to have another advancement that can really help people find their dream home and really bring it into the day and age with everything being digital and seamless. So, Matt, this has been so great. Thank you for joining me today on Core Conversations, a CoreLogic podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. It was a great conversation, and hope it was helpful.
Awesome. Okay. Well, for more information on the property market and the housing economy, please visit corelogic.com/insights. Thanks for listening. I hope you've enjoyed our latest episode. Please remember to leave us a review and let us know your thoughts, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast to be notified when new episodes are released. And thanks to the team for helping bring this podcast to life. Producer Ria Tarakia, editor and sound engineer Romeo Roman, and social media guru Mike Wojcik. Tune in next time for another Core Conversation.